And welcome back, Rick. Here we are, episode 2. I'm in the shed. You're in the office. How's it all been? How's your week been?
Good, mate. Good. Not too bad. It's been a busy one, but it's going to be even busier once Essendon have their first round. How about you? How'd you find the game?
Look, it was first things first, fantastic. I mean, to actually win a game, let's not let's just be happy with the 4 points, as I said. But more importantly, it was great to actually see the team rock up on the day, start well, play a half a footy, and then, well, leave it in the dressing rooms. Let's not forget about that one. But
Were you at any point, especially like after halftime, were you at any point nervous of the fact that Richmond have a good record coming back from those sorts of deficits?
yeah, I was completely. So yeah, this is where it was difficult to watch. So I was watching on KO Sports, not sponsored, but I was watching on KO, and even though it was live, I kept touching my screen and pressing like the forward 15 seconds forward. I was trying to just speed it up because I was so nervous that I thought we were going to lose. And yes, there's been many times, not just against Richmond, clearly Essendon. You guys pipped us at the line last a couple of years back, and
Yeah.
there's been a few games where we just give up the unlosable and lose it. So no, it's we've had our moments, but it was more in a way, and this is where any true Gold Coast fan or any struggling team fan will know, is that there was definitely moments where, as they started kicking goals and as it sort of fell apart, and as we had a one goal third quarter and maybe a 2 or 3 goal last quarter.
2 or 3, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was 3 goals in the second half. That, let's be honest, like that's sort of the status quo. I mean, for when I say most of our years, what we scored in the first half, 11 goals, 70 odd points, that's what we score in a game. So that was completely shocking to go, this is our normal total. And we scored 70. And I'm not going to lie, midway through the second quarter, I was just screaming finals inside my head. I was like, well, we're going to win it. Like, we may as well, like, this is it. We're going to win it. And then slowly but surely, as Richmond started pegging us back, it was, in one sense, terrifying that we're going to lose it, but in another sense, very comforting because it's the Gold Coast that I know and love. It's the Gold Coast that I'm used to, being, struggling to move the ball, no pressure, other teams scoring easy goals. And then actually, to be honest, the first 2 goals we got after to break the run were from 2 dodgy umpiring decisions. Let's be honest. One was that it was a deliberate through the goals, and the other one was a deliberate out of bounds. Or it was a dodgy free kick from Grimes who pushed the Gold Coast player who was lipping up to him, Nick Holman or something like that. So it was just it was watching it going, we could lose this, we will lose this, and then like breaking down emotionally, but in another sense being like, well, it's Gold Coast, so at least we're consistently not scoring goals or consistently giving up end-to-end goals. But back on the positive, just as a fan's sake, it was actually really refreshing to watch us hit targets, take the ball through the middle, kick a bit longer, but for our forwards just to stand up and just have a bit more presence and a bit more contest. Like, I just haven't seen a team play. I haven't seen a Gold Coast team play like that ever. I've never really seen us, even though we've had some fantastic players and we've had some absolute monsters across the ground. It's just never seemed like we've had it together as a team. So, win, lose or draw, it's great to see us play better. It'd be nice to see us play like that every week. But, hey, we are on top of the ladder for the first time in our history, first time in the club's history. I don't care if it's round 0 or not, we are on top. So, no, I'm, clearly the excitement's there, but,
Good.
Well done. Yeah. Well done to us. I feel great. Thank you to everyone. I'll put some applause in there. But so obviously Essendon didn't play, so I'm sure you guys hit the training track and felt very good. But before we get on to Essendon, or before we get on to who you're playing this week, and before we really preview the games for this week, what I found, obviously, in the lead up to the Damien Hardwick Cup, the ex-coach of Richmond, and let's be honest, very successful coach with Richmond, watching him and now our current coach, watching him prepare and have to get bombarded with, you're playing against your old team. How does it feel? Thought it was a bit interesting because he was such a good coach for them, but he's the coach. Like, he's in the box. He's not really on the ground, and there isn't that kind of animosity, or there isn't that connection between him and the players. I almost get more of a feeling when I see a Dion Prestia play, the human meatball, who was an absolute star for Gold Coast, and has then gone and been more of a star really with Richmond, and won a couple of premierships and had a very good role for him. It sort of led me to start thinking about, how hard it is to watch a lot of Gold Coast players play for other clubs, but there's still a lot of players I love watching, even though they're playing for someone else. But clearly Essendon have had a few trades over the time, and I was just wondering, what kind of players do you see pull another jumper, ex-Essendon player, but you still look at them as a bit of your favourite son, bit of your teammate?
Yeah, look, I think in the past, I think the one that hurt me the most was probably Paddy Ryder. Yeah. I think he was such an integral part to our midfield and even our forward line when he did go forward. He had the legs, he had the power, he had the skill, and for us to lose him, and under the circumstances as well, which was a bit shit because just after the drug saga, he had lost faith in the club, and I think there were words that came out that he said, the club was falling apart and blah, 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 blah. So to lose a few players around that sort of period was hard to watch. Paddy Ryder was probably one that hurt me the most. But current players, I think, this is probably controversial because I know a lot of Essendon fans don't like him, but I think Joe Danaher is probably our biggest loss, and more to the fact because I don't actually think he's that skillful. I think he's quite lucky. But more to the fact that he carries a very heavy name. Like Danaher at Essendon Football Club, Danaher is a very, very profound name. So I think to lose him to another club, I think says volumes in the direction that the club was going and the lack of faith that some of the players saw in the club itself. So every time I say him, either playing against us or playing, for Brisbane, I think just part of me just wishes that he was still wearing an Essendon jersey. What can you do?
Well, actually, funny you mentioned those two. When I was watching that elimination final against North Melbourne, which I also had Brendan Goddard and Paul Chapman, St Kilda and Geelong legends running around for Essendon, and even some of those decisions to maybe bring in players like that. Not that they didn't add to it, but they will probably be on their peaks, and then they're then playing for Essendon around this sort of 14 around those years. But it was then watching, Paddy Ryder kicking goals. I think he snapped Essendon's goal from outside 50. Took a mark and snapped it. Literally bananaed it from 50. And there's Joe Danaher sliding goals from the boundary line. You go, I forgot that both of them were Essendon players, and actually very good Essendon players. So I can see there's a bit of hurt there, but
I think equal second to that would have to be, as much as I didn't like the guy, he was very skillful. Jake Melksham,
right,
to an extent, I think he was a big loss, but I think the one that hurt me the most, outside of past players, definitely Joe Danaher. So, but what can you do? You rebuild and you move on.
Well, look, it's been a long rebuild, but it does sound like it's finally rebuilding, and it sounds like you guys may be ready to move on soon. So, from
your point of view, as someone who's got a limited history with, the club only being that too, but the club only being in existence for a short period of time and having relatively fresh faces around the club, is there anyone that's moved from Gold Coast to another club that you kind of wish was still wearing the red and yellow?
I mean, clearly Carmichael Hunt. Watching him change codes, no, not quite. Look, he was always people forget, I guess. Now you look back, and I was actually thinking about back to this going, we had Carmichael Hunt running around for us in our first couple of years, and how strange that was to watch a rugby league player play AFL. Him and Israel Folau, neither of them worked out. But look, I think the players that you lose that sort of sting you, and the obvious ones. I mean, you were talking about Port Adelaide before. Charlie Dixon, absolutely just monsters back lines, and you go, oh, it'd be amazing to still have him. There's definitely still bits about Tom Lynch, and you watch again another big forward, and you go, oh, Stephen May. He started as a forward, and then he went back, and you go, oh yeah, there's another superstar player that's left us, and let's be honest, gone away and had success and won premierships with their new side. We've lost a lot of players along the way, and we've also given away a few that just doesn't make sense to me. But I think the one player, if I had to pick one that I still love watching him play, but every time I watch him play, it just stings me, is Isaac Rankin. Like we drafted him. He was happy at the club. We seemed to be getting there. We seemed to have him there. He was playing really good footy. He just changed games. He won games for us just off his own bat, like just doing amazing things with just skills and dancing around and just taking the game by the scruff of the neck. And then, he's just unfortunately went back home, and you can't blame the man. But now I see him in an Adelaide jumper, and it does hurt. So, look, we're playing them this week, and we'll talk a bit about that a bit more later on. But it's hard to watch him run around in an Adelaide jumper, knowing that, if you had him at the feet with Roses at the feet of King, at the feet of Luke Oshis, Casbolt, suddenly you go, okay, maybe I'd feel a lot more confident about playing finals. Whereas, a classy player like that, when you lose them, it's just hard to replace. So definitely someone.
Well, I think, if you don't mind me asking, with last week being probably a very memorable win against a team who your current coach is now coaching, if that sort of makes sense. I'm sort of worded that weird.
It was memorable. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
And speaking of ranking, obviously you've got Adelaide next week. Probably not as memorable if you do get up against Adelaide next week. But do you have, I guess, a win from Gold Coast that sticks out in your mind as one of the best that you've seen? Yeah,
so I think I mentioned it last week, but just to rehash, I'm still fairly certain I need to go back through my pages of history and tickets to see if I've actually seen a Gold Coast win in person. I've seen many losses, and many very difficult losses. So let's save that for another week. Most memorable loss, or most scarring memory of your footy club. But
I've pushed all them out of my memory bank. But
but no. So for me, I reckon the most memorable win. Funnily enough, there's actually been a couple against Richmond. Clearly, I mentioned him before. The Carmichael Hunt shot after the siren up in Cairns it was, and that was an absolute barnstormer how we won that one, where they kicked backwards and. But I think the other one would have been Noah Anderson. Again, goal after the siren against Richmond, massive comeback. And for him to slot that goal as a young player after he'd gotten there, it's actually, as you may not know, but for those playing the trivia at home, is actually the snippet from our opening theme is the Glory, Glory Suns is the game where we came back against Richmond when they were in their premiership pomp with Damien Hardwick, the super coach, and then Noah Anderson, the young fella, got up and won. I know we had a couple against, there's a good win against Sydney in there, and that's pretty memorable. Again, you ask about memorable wins. I can almost remember all of our wins. That's how little there are. but funnily enough, I think those games against Richmond really stand out. Not to say that there haven't been other good ones. A couple against Collingwood where you go, well, we won that one, or just games where you just didn't expect to win. But I think those two goals after the siren, they're easy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were saying before you had a couple of players that was hard to watch when you played against them, and I can't remember any off the top of my head. But you were saying obviously Port Adelaide, Paddy Ryder. Is there any memorable wins from an Essendon point of view, from your point of view, that you really stick with you? That it was still to this day still memorable.
Well, this goes back probably before Gold Coast was even conceived. But the biggest comeback of all time against North Melbourne, I think we were 69 points down in the second quarter, and I was listening to it in the radio, on the way to the movies, And 69 points down, midway through the second quarter, we switched it off.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like we were like, nah, we're done.
Crack the sads. Let's go do
I think,
anything else. Yeah.
I think it was 2001. I honestly can't remember if it was
That
that
sounds about
far,
right.
far
Yeah.
back. But then after the movie finished, we got back in the car and all of a sudden we're hearing the Essendon theme song because the game had just finished by that point. 69 points to anyway. So to be 10 goals down and to come back from that, I was like, especially a year after the grand final win, I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But then a sneaky close second was when someone bet $1 million on Geelong and Essendon won it. And Geelong were paying $1.01. So the dude would have only won like 10 grand. And that's all they were talking about throughout the entirety of the night. And at the very end, they basically said it's not a win for Essendon, it's a $1 million loss for some poor bloke. And I thought that was the best call ever. So
Memorable.
yeah, I think those two were probably my most memorable.
While this week may not be as memorable as some of these games or the games we've just spoken about, obviously round one for Essendon, you've got Hawthorn at the MCG, Saturday afternoon, Melbourne. It's 40 degrees last week. I don't know how it's down there this week. Run us through the game. How are you feeling? What are you looking forward to?
Thankfully, it's not going to be too hot. I think 23, 24 and partly cloudy. So I'm looking forward to that bit. But look, it's always it's an interesting game because I think it can go either way. And we've seen it go either way multiple times in years past. And I think last year, having won by a massive margin round one was awesome to watch. And I don't think I'm as confident this year because I think with the inclusions that we've got with Goldstein, Mackay, all that sort of stuff, it could go either way because it's dynamic. It's a new team, and I think they may need a couple of weeks to really sort this shit out. So look, I'm pumped to go. I'm pumped to see him play, but I don't know.
So you are going? Yeah, nice.
I am going. I'm just not exactly sure where I'll be sitting yet, but regardless, I think it's good that the footy's back. So yeah, that excitement's there. But as unfortunately as an Essendon supporter, you're always in the back of your mind going, is it even fucking worth going, knowing that I'll probably be leaving sad? Like, what can you do?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Unfortunately, like you say, you might be leaving sad. You might be leaving sad on Saturday, but knowing that you've got such a big history between you two as well, like I don't think there'll be any love lost. I think it'll be interesting throughout the year just for any team that plays Hawthorn which week they catch them because clearly a young side, they're going to be in games and out of games and in games and out of games and almost up and down from week to week. So, yeah, let's just hope you guys catch them on a bit of a, I wouldn't say napping, but catch them just early in the year where they just haven't quite found their feet. You guys can get that win and get your season started on a roll. Enjoy being there. Enjoy going to the footy. Obviously, very jealous, but just obviously, what's the food of choice at the footy for you?
A scalding hot meat pie. No, I'm not actually a footy food kind of person. Consumer. I'd rather eat before or after. Yeah, because I usually I'm quite frugal and I don't like spending $30 on a pie and $80 on a beer. No, but I think it should be exciting and I'm pumped and
it should be a good crowd regardless.
As well. Yeah, and I think that's what makes it more enjoyable is having the atmosphere and being able to share it with mates because obviously I'm going with a mate who goes for Hawthorn and I've had my fair share of rubbing it into him in the past and I'm sure he'd be wanting to do that to me. But what about you, mate? Are you pumped? Are you nervous? You got Adelaide this week. Where's that? That's in Gold Coast, isn't it?
Yeah, it is up. Yeah, so it's up at our fortress, as we're now going to call it, the Heritage Bank People's First something. I don't know. We've got a new sponsor this year, but Metricon, the Gold Coast Fortress. Yeah, look, I think if we were playing Adelaide in Adelaide, I'd be expecting not just a loss. Whenever we play Adelaide down there, we get hammered by them, get smashed. I I've been to games actually where Gold Coast played Adelaide in Adelaide, and it's over by quarter time, if not half time. So I think up there, and maybe it's because we're playing Saturday night. So whether it's just that greasy conditions, whether it's the yellow footy, it's just slipping and sliding around a bit, that I hope that we can get over them. I can see, because he always just has a game against us, Taylor Walker just kicking a bag, because he just does that. Like I said before, Isaac Rankin, he'll kick a bag. And I don't know. I don't know how we'll go. I hope that we're more competitive like we were last week. Like I said last week, against Adelaide, I don't think we're better than them. I don't think we'll beat them, but it would be great if we go 2-0. It'll be lids off. It'll be absolutely lids off for any Gold Coast supporter. But
Mate, settle down. You're not a Carlton supporter.
Yeah. Well. Imagine being a Carlton supporter this week. Absolute just mania. I would have thought. Just shirts off on Monday. Just the Carlton scarf to work. But we're looking forward to the game. Like you say, it's good to have 9 games of footy back, 9 games of action. Not. I didn't mind the 4, but I think just to get footy across almost every day of the weekend, I'm looking forward to it. And again, for that, please,
sorry, no, I was just going to jump in on that. What's your thought behind opening round now that it's done and dusted, first year of it happening? What do you think? Like, do you prefer having this like little teaser to the season, or do you prefer the old method of just it's round 1 is Essendon, Richmond Carlton as the opening game for the season?
Yeah, look, again, probably someone who advocates for Northern footy, Queensland footy, and New South Wales footy. I didn't mind the fact that they had their own games. You probably, and I know I heard a few people say, "Oh, what about South Australia? Will they get their the gather round? So they're going to have that. They're going to, the gather round. So what's that? Yeah, and derbies and stuff. But gather round, obviously, every single club in the comp is going to Adelaide. So it would have been nice to have a game on Sunday. Is probably the one thing I would have said to that. But I liked, I didn't mind the fact that they were sort of, it was just those ones. But in a way, I kind of would have preferred it to have been opening round of Gold Coast and opening round of Sydney, but have all 18 teams split across either New South Wales or either Queensland, and you have almost like the gather round, but you have sort of 4 games or 5 games across the Gabba and Gold Coast. You have 4 games spread across Sydney and GWS, or even chuck one in Canberra there, sort of thing, and just have the footy up there for the weekend. So it's still opening round. It's still getting people up to the games. I guess they did that to have sellout crowds at those games, and I'm sure that worked. Whereas if you had Collingwood playing North Melbourne, that might have a massive Collingwood game, but it's not the same. But you could have still tailored it to have GWS play Collingwood, and in the end, I mean, what a game GWS played. But I think that would have been cool if you just had maybe a couple more games to put them up there. But I didn't mind it. How about you? Obviously, you're in Victoria, you're a Melburnian. There you go. Yeah. Just where's my footy? He says. So
well, I mean, look, Richmond can't stand, Carlton can't stand, but that's tradition, man. Like it's I don't know, and that's the thing. Like the AFL used to be the VFL before we branched out, and I get that, but it's a good sort of way just to sort of I think it's a nice way to touch base with the roots of what the game was as 2 Melbourne-based teams just fucking having it out for a massive opening round, and it amplifies that hype, I think. But I mean, look, that's just my opinion. It's probably worth nothing, but it is what it is.
I didn't mind. I'll just say on that one, I think actually it's going to benefit a team like Carlton most though, because the amount of pressure they used to build up into that game, and for whatever reason, if they'd done the same against Richmond, even with Adam Uze at the G on the Thursday night, and they were down the 50, 60 points they were against, or 40 points, whatever it was against Brisbane, in a way, I feel like they may have tensed up. They lose that game. Richmond win that game. Papers over some of the cracks for Richmond because, like we said last week, there'll be some growing pains, or like we saw, there'll be some growing pains with the new coach and some injuries. Carlton wouldn't have had the mojo as they're getting now, whereas in a way, they had nothing to lose against Brisbane. They had nothing to lose at being 40 points down. They had nothing to lose just being able to throw caution into the wind. now they've won the game, and now it's like, oh, Carlton's going to be hard to play this year. I mean, I even saw those markets for betting that Brisbane weren't going to lose a game at home. So, yeah, for that to happen round one, you go, okay, now we're, in a way, it sort of benefited Carlton detrimentally for the rest of the comp, because now we have to put up with Carlton being successful again. So, yeah, that's
It's all right. Just wait till about round 14, 15 where they start to really die up the ass. But
yeah, well, I was saying, when their entire fan base puts so much pressure on the team that they either win by 10 goals or they've lost, basically, and that's when the pressure will start to mount.
They'll have one loss, and you'll see about 30 or 40 Carlton supporters burning their memberships. So
in the microwave, like that Richmond supporter did years ago.
Oh my god!
I still remember that callback. You know, putting it in the microwave. I'm never going for this team again. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So look, we'll previews on. So what I'll take away from this conversation, long story short, win. Yes or no? Put your cojones on the line, Rick. Are you winning? Or are you losing? Are you tipping Essendon? I mean, let's just...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tipping Essendon?
Look, I don't like tipping my team, because I like to think of it as, if Essendon win, it's awesome for me. My team gets the win. If they lose, at least I get the tip.
Yeah.
But I will say I have enough confidence to say I think they'll win.
Okay.
What about you? Gold Coast? Away? Oh, no, home.
Yeah, home.
Yeah.
Home, I'll tip us. I don't like the fact that we're short price favourites, though. I don't like that at all. It feels like there's now the expectation you got to win, and we've never played well with expectations. So, look, if we lose a close game, I'll be heartbroken. If we lay an absolute egg and score like 6 goals to the game, I'll be in a straitjacket, but I'll be in my happy place, because that's like that comfort zone. You know what I mean? It's back into the Gold Coast that I know. And if we win, I mean, it'll be lids off next week. We might have to rename the podcast Lids Off. So, now look, Rick, thank you again for another week. Best of luck to you and your footy team. Best of luck to me and mine. Thank you very much. And yeah, mate, it's been a pleasure again. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good, mate. Have a good one.
Cheers, mate.